How might regular exercise improve cognitive function? What if the key to a sharper mind wasn't in the form of a supplement, but your workout? Scientists have discovered exciting new ways to improve focus, but are you using it? Exercise just doesn't strengthen your body, it also strengthens your brain because it rewires it. In this video, you'll achieve better focus, better concentration, and more mental alertness by doing these simple exercises. So I love exercising, and actually one of the videos that we used to have all of our clients watch was called I Can't Exercise For You, or We Can't Exercise For You. And I don't just love exercise because of the muscle burn or the cardiovascular workout or the respiratory side of it. I love the way that it makes my brain feel. And 10 years ago, I said, I'm going to exercise every day for the rest of my life. And I just made it a standard. And my wife and I, we have this non-negotiable in our relationship, which is we're always going to be working on our health. And so in order to do that, exercise needs to be rewarding. And there's some very simple things that I'm going to show you that you can do and put into your life right away, which will lead you to having a better cognitive function just by doing exercises. And it's going to be really good for all the other things in your body. So that if there's one thing that scientists would love to put into a pill, it would be exercise. And while there's a lot of exciting peptides that are coming through the pipeline, and we're seeing like MOTS-c and Sloop 332, SS31, these are exercise mimetics, but they still don't capture the same benefits that you get with exercise. And so even though we're big proponents of, great peptides, stem cells, rejuvenating your body, exercise, you can't out-peptide the sedentary lifestyle. You can't out-stem cell a sedentary lifestyle. And actually what we found is that all the treatment modalities that we use go hand in hand. So how does exercise impact the brain? Well, one of the first pieces of research that I saw is where they looked at the neurochemistry of the brain and they saw all of the ways that the brain actually lit up when we exercise. And what researchers did is they looked at a functional MRI and they looked at a person who's sedentary, and they found that there's parts of the brain that the circulation was essentially very weak, or there's not a lot of electrical conductivity. And then they found the groups of people who exercised, their brains were far more dynamic. There's a lot more electrical activity going on in the brain. And if you look at the neural pathways in the brain, 70% of our brain is wired for exercise and movement. And it's wired for vision. And so the exercise becomes really important. And what we found is that when you exercise, especially when you do high intensity interval trainings, what you'll see is that you have an increase in the expression of BDNF. And some of the studies have found that this expression can go up as high as 400%. I remember a time when I was doing a CrossFit workout, and Chris Spieler was one of my trainers, and he was a CrossFit legend. And I was like, I really want to impress Chris. And I also was kind of nervous because I said, man, I've got to go and teach a workshop all day. And so I had these, a bunch of clinicians and doctors flying in for one of my Go Wellness events. And I said, okay, I'm just going to push it really hard and I'm going to see if my brain can keep up and if I get too tired in the day. And what I found is that I felt so energized from doing that CrossFit workout, or the WOD, the workout of the day for those of you who've done CrossFit. And this was a Murphy. So Murphys are really challenging because, you're running a mile with a weighted vest, you're doing 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats, and then you run another mile. So not an easy workout, but I pushed through it. And when I got to the stage and when I was ready to present, my brain was more clear and more active. I was more engaged than I'd ever been before. And that was the moment that I said, okay, I'm exercising every day, no matter what. And so what can you do? So, one thing that I have in my book, The Peptide Blueprint, which will give you a copy of that, you can click on the link below, is I have what's called the Fitness 50 exercise protocol. And so there's 11 exercises that one of my mentors, Dan Sullivan, he wants to live to be 156 and he's 80 years old. And so he came up to me and he said, Regan, what does a fit 100-year-old want to be doing that a fit 50-year-old can be doing? And so I went to work on the research and I found there's 11 exercises that become benchmarks for you to test your physical performance. And they're actually really good for brain health at the same time. And so one of the exercises is grip strength. So if you have high blood pressure, the problem with high blood pressure is it starts to damage your kidneys. And then as your kidneys start to get damaged, then your stress response gets more elevated and your brain doesn't work as well because you don't get the right epinephrine and norepinephrine. And then you start to see that your body doesn't downregulate the stress response and you don't sleep as well. And so it's this cascading event. But if you work on grip strength, what you'll see is the blood pressure comes down. We've actually seen people get off their blood pressure meds through working with their cardiologist just by working on grip strength. So one of the tests that you can do is a dead hang. So if you have a pull-up bar in your house or if there's monkey bars at a park nearby, get out and go for a walk and hang. And then test yourself. So if you can go 30 seconds, we're going to give you the fit. And so that's category 1. If you can go 60 seconds, you get 2 points for that. And that's category 2. That's the fitter category. But the fittest is if you can dead hang for 90 seconds. That's really what you want to be striving for. And so grip strength becomes one of them. The other test you can do is a single leg stance. So just stand on one leg and then see if you can stand there for 20 seconds. And then go to the other leg and then see if you can extend that to maybe 60 seconds and then 90 seconds. But the goal is to be able to stand on one leg for 90 seconds on either side. And that's a great way of reharmonizing the brain. The other thing that you can do when it comes to exercise and cognitive function is endurance. And so zone 2 cardio training is so imperative for your brain health, your cardiovascular health. And so 90 minutes a week in that zone 2. So grab a friend, go for a hike. Zone 2 is when you get your heart rate, depending on your age, up to about 130 to 140 beats per minute. And it's where you can have single sentences when you're out walking with somebody. And it becomes really fun. So I love to mountain bike, I love to ski, snowboard, and that's where I can get a lot of my zone 2 in. But if you can do a zone 2 and then you come back and in the Fitness 50, part of your endurance training is how fast can you run a mile? Can you run a mile in 12 minutes or less? How about 10 minutes or less? That's fitter, or 8 minutes is puts you at the top category. And so these are things that you can do to start training your body to get the benefits of exercise. And then what we've discovered is if you can add in peptides like BPC 157, thymosin beta 4, you recover from the exercise. And these are also powerful peptides that have been shown to have neuroprotective benefits. BPC 157, in one of the studies, they damaged the brains of these rats. They dropped a brick on the head. What they found is that the rats that got BPC 157 in their water, they regained their motor control. They started walking faster than the ones that just had water. The ones that just had water didn't have much of a recovery at all. So these are some great things that you can use if you don't want the soreness after a good exercise protocol. So thymosin beta 4, BPC 157 is a game changer. If you love what you've heard here, go to my next video where I go even deeper on certain modalities that can improve your cognitive function for good.